We are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk. Got a great episode for you guys. We're going to talk about a couple more builders with our builder series. We're going to talk about John Benton at Benton Performance and John Willhoit, two Johns. John Benton, Benton Performance out in California and Anaheim. Great story behind him. I'll fill you guys in who don't know about him. He's been in the game since 1985. He's been doing it a long time. Story with him is he always wanted a cool car. He wanted a 911, couldn't afford a 911. Went to a lot. I don't know the exact time frame. Didn't have enough money for a 911, but there was a 912 sitting there under a tree. And so he went there and he looked at it and he asked the guy how much for it. And it was obviously the right price. He had enough money in his pocket. He ended up buying a 912. Long story short, since it was his first car and he wanted a cool car, he learned everything about that 912, broke it down, built it up. Great mastermind as far as engineering and doing his own thing. And then he ended up being like this kind of like a guru with 912s, like it's kind of a cool car in its own right. I'm not saying I'd own a 912, but I'm saying I would not, not ever known one or ever not own one, however you want to put that. But I think it's a cool car. It's, it was a nice alternative back in the 60s when, maybe you couldn't afford that 911 brand new and you still wanted a piece of that Porsche, puzzle. But super interesting guy, what I love about him too is that he's just down to earth. Like his shop truck is like a single cab VW truck, kind of like my bus is. It's pretty cool,
Nice, keeping it Volkswagen.
That's cool. Exactly. Keeping it air cooled, right? So like not only does he do 912 stuff, he does everything. He's capable, he can, but I mean that's what his specialty is,
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know, like you're alluding to, I don't know that a 912 would be my first choice. But I would like to stack. I'm sure they're very close. 912 and the 356.
Yeah.
Drivability. I would like to drive one back to back and see how.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And I know that you 912 guys out there, we're not knocking that car at all. Like they're awesome cars, and I know there's a huge cult following. 912 guys are just like 911 guys. They're like, oh, the line in the sand. I'm a 912 guy. I love 911 or 912s. Excuse me, I said 911.
Yeah, so you can't stop
I know.
yourself.
I'm brainwashed. Sorry, but I'm open to new things as well. But I mean, as far as what John pumps out, like obviously the testament of time. I mean, like he's been doing it since '85. And what I love about his operation there, it's a mom and pop operation. You know what I mean? Like he does his own thing. His son works there. His crew is very tight knit. They have a pretty extensive waiting list as far as like people want to do restorations and get stuff done there. And like I said, he does everything. He doesn't do 912s, he does 356s, he does 911s, but generally speaking, there's no old, new stuff that goes in there. It's old school stuff, it's air cooled stuff, and he has, tinkered with a lot of ideas as far as how to like pump up a lot of horsepower in a 912, that making that flat floor strong.
That was going to be my first question. Has he been messing around with enough? And I mean,
Oh,
I wonder
yeah.
if he's probably asked a few secrets of Rod Emery himself, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure they're buddies and they chat in their own rights, like all those West Coast guys. I'm sure they trade secrets here and there. And I know John's personal 912. I'm sure I would bet money that car would probably rip my 964 apart, and it's a flat four. So I mean,
that weight savings.
Yeah, super lightweight, and he could probably drive the pants off it too. So but amazing guy, I love, like I said, just the roots there, the bones of what he does right there says a lot about who he is. You know what I mean? Like he's got Benton Performance on his shop truck. It's a VW shop truck, and it goes back to being like, I don't know if you want to call it humble. I don't know how you want to describe it, but saying that, as far as Porsche goes, there's something for everybody, I guess is what I was going with that, like.
Yep, a Porsche is a Porsche.
Exactly.
It's got the DNA.
Like it's not like 912 or nothing. Or
911. Now you got 912
I know, right?
You get a 912 next.
That's how enthusiastic I am about John. I mean, he's got me talking about 912 or nothing. But I was gonna say 911 or nothing. But and I know that's kind of the stereotype with a lot of people that own a 911. There's nothing else. I'd rather never own anything else. I don't. 914, get out of here. 912, get out of here. Like, why would I own that? And I know that's kind of a stereotype, but I mean, each model has its own nuances and quirks and like fun things about it, that can be explored. And a testament to that, not to get off of John and hit what he does and is so special, but even Magnus Walker has opened up to that. Like before he wouldn't own any water cooled cars or anything. Like even he wouldn't even owned any turbos, right? Like everything he was
Yep, that
all
was all. It was all long hood, and then
yeah,
it was
NA
16.
cars,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like he's even, he's got transaxle cars now. He's got,
He wants to try
944s. Yeah.
every flavor, all 31 flavors of Baskin
Exactly. So
Robbins.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's even opened up to it, So I challenge you guys out there that are only 911 guys, like I know the rising tide has raised all boats unfortunately in this
This is
situation.
true.
912s used to be, had for very very little money back in the day, and that was the purpose, and that was actually the point. But now they're, I don't want to say compatible or comparable to a 911. They are expensive, but I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about before. What's 15, 20 more grand, right? Because that's about the difference. You
Yep.
know,
How much more are you going to enjoy it at 15 or
yeah,
20 more thousand? It's going to be that much more
yeah.
enjoyment, which it might be.
I could spend 30 grand for a clean 912, like pristine, or I could spend 45.
Easily
Yeah,
45. And for a decent example, and not even a
yeah,
super clean example.
exactly. And it's like, or I could go buy a 911, right? So I think to, pick your poison. I don't think there's a wrong choice there. It may be budget related, it may be flavor related. Some guys like that, like
Just get the
being
Porsche. That's the end of the story. You
exactly.
have the crest on the
Great
hood,
point. Great,
and
great
it's
line.
you
Just
still
get the
get.
Porsche.
I
It
mean, you
doesn't
still
get
get to you still get
perfect
to have
line.
that P car.
It doesn't matter what it is. You're part of the club. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
And don't let anybody tell you any different, because to be honest with you, 912 is just as cool. 356, cool. Doesn't
I
matter.
started off with my 944, and that's
Yeah.
I thought it was the coolest thing until it was.
And it was like,
it
you got a
was-
Porsche, man.
Yeah, till it caught on fire. So then that was a little disturbing.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Bummer. But yeah, I mean, as far as what John does out there, amazing builder. If you don't know anything about him, look him up, bentonperformance.com, or even YouTube him. I mean, he's been on Petrolicious with his 912. Like, I mean, he's the real deal. Like, John, I mean, and I wanted to bring him up because, again, what we talked about in our very first episode, we're talking about everything on the Porsche spectrum.
Yep.
It's not just, 911 and that's it. It's everything. We love it all. It's
Yep.
awesome.
I mean, I wasn't familiar with John's work. I mean, we were talking about it before we even started this
Yeah.
episode. I was like, oh, I don't know, but I mean, yeah, I'm definitely gonna look him up.
Yeah, and I
See
was
what
like,
he's
hey,
about.
we want to educate you. This is what, you get one of these cars, and like, and not saying, to lump John in and diminish anything that he's done with his career and what his business has become. But, the Mecca out there on the West Coast, there is a lot of builders out there, and there's probably going to be a lot of builders that we don't actually talk about in this builder series. And that doesn't mean they're any lesser for it. It's just maybe because we're not educated about it.
Exactly. I mean, though, you can always let us know your favorite builder if it's somebody that we haven't talked about.
Exactly. And, that's why we have that, the social media outlets for you guys to reach out to us. Reach out to us on Instagram at PCAR Talk. Let us know. If there's a builder that you guys know and we should do some research on, like I said, this isn't going to be every episode. We're going to mix it up. This is going to be an ongoing thing. We're doing this forever. This is a passion project. So this builder series isn't just like, okay, we're talking about 8 builders and then it's over. No, this will continue. New builders pop up. We'll continue to talk about them. We love giving these guys the limelight. They're the ones in the industry that keep these cars alive. They're the ones that we trust to get things done, right?
But we can drive because they do their thing.
Exactly. And they're the pros, right? Like they want to make the cars as cool as they can be, and it's almost kind of like an a la carte situation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you take your car there, it's like, hey, I want to hot rod it. Oh, I want to bone stock it. Whatever you want to do. And that's what I love about these guys, and nothing to take away from the actual mothership. We love Porsche as a brand. They're doing their own thing, and we're going to have an episode where we talk about, Porsche Classic, and what they do and what they offer and how they're getting into the game of restoration and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe we can get old Ray here.
Yeah, we'll get old Ray Schaefer. You're buds with him. Like we'll get him on here in the future, and maybe we'll have a chat with him and what they do, and he's a big dog at Porsche Classic in Atlanta, and we've met him a couple times, and he's a great guy, and he's well spoken, and he has a lot to offer and a lot to talk about. So we'll educate our audience on what they're doing, because maybe not a lot of people know what Porsche Classic is actually doing.
It's a pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool for what they're doing about. I mean, being the company that they are, they're going retro and going. Let's take care of the cars that we still have on the road. We say that we have 70%
Yeah,
of our cars still on the road. Let's
that's a
maintain
huge
that.
thing. Yeah,
It's a big
absolutely.
deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I think it's almost kind of like, again, not to shift from John, but talk about that topic for a little bit, that it's almost kind of monkey see monkey do, right? Like Jaguar's kind of doing that, right? They're bringing back like E-types and like redoing them and doing things like that for
At
their
a very very high premium too.
exactly, right? And I think Porsche realized that they're leaving a lot of, low hanging fruit out there, and not exploring that option. And I'm glad they're doing that. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're taking away from any of these guys' businesses. I mean, only time will tell. But I'm sure these guys are well established. They're going to be doing their thing regardless. And you know, I think that long term they can all coexist.
Yeah, I don't think Porsche's taking away. I mean, that's what the way that my initial opinion would be. They're not taking it away at all because Porsche's restoring it to how Porsche had it originally, and these guys are
Agreed.
normally going a step further, or at least accommodating what I would like to see
Yeah,
Porsche
putting
as
like
a
a customer
customer.
outlaw spin on something, right? Like, the factory's not going to do that kind of stuff. They're going to be like, "Hey, this thing was chalk marked right here. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to build this thing like it came out the showroom floor."
Exactly. No widening it, no high horsepower
No,
cars, no
absolutely
craziness.
not. And you're going to get factory ride height where you look like a safari car even though you're not a safari car, and all
I'm
that good
feeling
stuff,
that
right?
pain right now.
Yeah. Right? It's like, yeah, you need to lower your altitude some. It's like, that's how it came from the factory, man. It's like, all right, we'll put some KO2s on it and
Exactly.
make it a Lee Keen project, right? And we'll be speaking about him, by the way, too, Lee Keen. We're not going to, segue into that now. If you guys don't know, he does safari cars out in Atlanta, and they're pretty epic. Um, and it's kind of, it's a great time to be alive and be a Porsche file because there's so many options, right?
You can get there. I mean, everybody's taste is definitely satisfied for
Yeah.
sure. Whether you want to be the Porsche purist, which you can go directly to Porsche now, like we just said, with the sports car classic dealerships, and get your parts and make it just like it was. Or you can go to the John's Benetton, the 912, or you can go to anybody else, have it done exactly tailored to your color and spec, like you think it should
Yeah,
have been from the factory.
absolutely. And I mean, sky's the limit. Whatever your pocketbook can handle basically is what you can have at this point in life, right? Like whatever you want. You want to do a singer, you can do a singer. You want to do safari build, you can do safari build. You want to do a 912 build, you can do it. There's some you want 356, you can do 356. So
That
there's
safari build's definitely tempting. It's after seeing Matt Farah's.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's the all around 911. That is the all around 911.
Yeah, oh yeah, I can do everything, right? Like
Maybe not super track, but I mean, for the most part, if it's just
yeah.
on the daily.
But yeah, if you think about like as far as like, reality, how many people are really going to the track?
I haven't been as much as I want to go.
Yeah.
So.
You got to be pretty dedicated if you're going to be a track monkey, right? Like I mean that you have to have the funds and the time to make that happen. There's two elements there, right?
Yep.
It isn't just like, "Oh, well, I'm going to go to the track." Like most people have to travel time to get to a track, you know, unfortunately for most people, they don't live anywhere near a track. So I mean, you're talking 2-3 hours to get to a track. Your trailer in there, maybe you're driving there. I don't know, switching tires. I mean,
Yep, consumables, all those things. Yep, for sure.
yeah, I know. God, I can't remember his first name. I know his last name's Olson, but he was. I want to say it's like Dave Olson. He's out in California, but he's been on like Popular Mechanics, and he has like a personalized garage. But he has one 911, right? And it's like he calls it his Frankenstein 911 because I think it started out as like a 73T, but he put RSR
black?
flares. Yeah, black one.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
And like the guy's awesome. You know what I mean? I think he's in it. He's a book writer in his spare time. He writes books, but also like he's self-taught. Like he did his garage by himself. He put like an in-ground
Oh
like
yeah,
lift.
yeah. I remember this
His
guy. He was
yeah,
super. Like I mean, if you wanted to build a garage, you built it like this guy built this
yeah,
garage. It's
epic,
there's
right?
so many use and functions for everything he put in there is purposeful, and then also the 911
Yeah,
stands to reason the same thing.
exactly. It's a one car. He's in California. It's an epic house, but all the space in there, and Aaron and I are talking about having multiple 911s, and he kind of took the minimalist approach and was like, you know what? I just need one, but I just want it to do everything. I wanted to be able to drive on the street. I want to take it to the track. I want to be able to grocery store. He does all that stuff with it. And it's weather beaten. It's got rocks rock chips all over it. But it's purposed. You know what I mean? Like he has a wing that he bolts on when he gets to the track. He throws it inside the car as he drives it there. Like he's got a front splitter that he throws inside the car when he gets there. He puts like the tires on a roof rack. He undoes everything. When he gets to the track, he drives all around with all this stuff on the track, and then he unbolts it all and throws it back in the car and drives home. I mean, that was the purpose of when Porsche started making cars. Like that was, I mean, it was to race and then be able to drive home from the race in
Yep,
your
it's
car.
definitely along the lines of their ads where it's like where it says a really expensive car, a really inexpensive race car.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. That
Exactly right.
mantra.
And I think not to get into Porsche's history because we'll have a whole nother episodes or on that kind of stuff, but I think for Aaron and I could speak for him on this, is that we have such a passion for them because they were born from a race pedigree, right? They didn't make cars to make a profit first, and not to, poo poo any other brands out there. But let's just use Ford, for example. Their goal was to make cars for the economy, affordable cars for the mass
Yep,
market,
replace the
right?
horse. That was
You
their
know,
goal.
so, Porsche built their first car and went racing immediately. They're like, we're building cars to race. And and almost kind of like Ferrari's mantra, well, we want to sell cars so we can continue to race. So something that's born into that fire like that. And I think why I chose Porsche instead of Ferrari or whatever other brand you could think of was it was more of kind of like we can do more with less.
Yep,
Like
the minimalist approach.
yeah, I mean, they were able to be so successful with such low horsepower cars in their time when they were entering Le Mans and those things like that. It was pretty epic and pretty amazing. Like, I know we weren't alive during that time, but I mean, if you guys don't know and you haven't looked at it, you guys really need to up your IQ on that because it's pretty epic. It'll probably just make you love Porsche even more because it's like when you drive that in the pedigrees there and you're just like, wow, this is special, you know?
Yep, each and every time. I mean, there's not anything they haven't entered that they haven't won.
Mhm.
That's the crazy part about that. And then uh, just to know that that racing pedigree is there behind that crest of whatever you're getting behind, and every piece of that DNA is in every car. They think about it. I mean, it's just that's why you get so passionate about that brand because Porsche is Porsche. They started on the racetrack. They still have that DNA that they carry through for their production so they can go racing again.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that's what all these builders have too, like Benton Performance. I mean, his performance is in his name. He's making 912s performance 912s, right?
Which is cool because I mean, you don't expect a
Yeah.
912 to have
Yeah.
very much.
Exactly. And that car was designed by Porsche to be like the Econobox, right? That was
Yep.
the Econobox Porsche back then. And it was like, okay, well, hey, you can't afford the 911, you can't afford the 96. Hey, we got a 912 for a different market. Because back then there were no SUVs, right? They couldn't sell SUVs to fund their racing
What
or
is an SUV?
exactly,
That's
right?
what they were
So it
at.
was the 912 was the pseudo SUV. It was like, hey, maybe we can sell more 912 so we can keep making the 911. So kudos to John and what he's doing out there in Anaheim, California. Amazing builder, amazing family, like a grassroots type of organization, sons involved. Love everything about what they're doing and what they bring to the motorsport and love that they are doing a 912. That was his first kind of like sports car and he stuck to his guns and he's like, you know what? This is going to be my thing, man. This is what I'm doing.
Be in the niche. I mean, and
Exactly.
that's what that's really cool for the 912s though. That they have a place to go. That's not just a boring 912.
Exactly. Like they can have the hot rodded, warmed over, souped up, you name it, and he can do it. Well, like I said, kudos to John and what he's doing out there. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Had a couple beers. We're good to go. Talk about our next builder, John Willhoit. Awesome builder. Right now, he's doing Paul Zuckerman's car. Speedster, it was in an accident earlier this year, I think. And Willhoit, unlike, like Rod Emery, has been doing this stuff forever. Like, literally, like, he tells a great story. I think he was on, was it Spike Ferriston's podcast recently? Talking about, like, when he first had his first 911, and he used to work at, like, a golf course, and, excuse me, not his first 911. He had an Alfa Romeo, and there was a guy that worked at, it was at the golf course, and he saw his Alfa Romeo, and then wanted to go for a ride in his Alfa Romeo. Said, hey, can I drive it? And he drove his Alfa Romeo, and then he said, hey, when I get back, you can drive my 911. He couldn't wait to drive his 911. He gets back, and he goes, hey, kid, you're not driving my 911. But then Willhoit, from that point on, he at least went for a ride, and it didn't get to drive it. But he was bitten, at a young age at that point. And, I think his background, he went to school at USC, and he said he used to work on cars. He would pick up cars, like old school, like back in the day where he would, like, pick a car and flip it and make some money on it. And he figured out there was money involved in that. So, that's how he kind of got onto the Porsche bug. And, unlike Rod, John does, 356s, he does Speedsters, 911, but, he does everything air-cooled. So everything he does is pretty much old school. It's not any water-cooled stuff. But pretty amazing individual, nonetheless, and I heard the waiting list there is something astronomical. Like Jerry, Spike, and Zuckerman, they all go to this guy. So obviously he's the man as far as this goes, if those guys are going to him,
Give me the crop for sure.
Yeah. And I think as far as like the restorations, and he does, I'm not saying he's opposed to doing anything hot rodish, but like I heard him say he does do some hot rodding to the motors at the customer's request. But for the most part, I think he tries to make them stockers as much as he can, and there's something to be said for that. There's not that many guys out there that are doing something to that, degree and level. You should look him up on Instagram, J. Willhoit, or johnwillhoit.com. Like he's doing amazing stuff, and he's been doing it for a long time. He's a very seasoned veteran as far as that goes.
He's just doing a little bit of the opposite of all this outlawing stuff. He's keeping it classy.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like there's a little bit of, a spectrum of everything for everyone, like if you want to go hardcore, you want to go outlawish, and kind of be on that misnomer where everybody's like, oh, that's an outlaw car, who knows what that's going to be worth. And then, and Aaron and I weren't in the Porsche game back then, but we do know enough people that were in the degree of it was faux pas to do anything to a car,
Yep, that's the reason that outlaw term exists with Rod Emery's family.
Exactly,
coining
right?
it.
Like, like Rod used to say, they had to park in like a separate parking lot. I mean, they couldn't even go to the events. So
when purist was so pure.
Exactly. And, not saying it in a negative way, but I think John Willhoit is more focused on that kind of build. Not that they can't hot rod something. They do mainly internal hot rods. But if you were looking at the engine, I think I've heard him say you couldn't tell if he did anything to the engine, because anything that changes inside is maybe to the cam duration, the lobes, like actually pistons, any of that stuff. It's all internal stuff,
That's cool. Being the detail person, everything on the inside. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
And I think he's warmed over Spike Ferriston's Speedster too, and he's made it pretty quick. And I've heard Spike talk about how John's worked on his stuff, and I also heard him say something to the effect of like when they get their Zagato 356 that's getting built, even though it's getting built out in Italy, they're going to take it to John when they get it, just for him to shake it down before they even take the car. So that's saying a lot about John.
Yeah,
you know?
they want that extra touch that John does.
Yeah,
Make
exactly.
sure it's perfection.
Exactly. I mean, you're taking a Zagato built car where it's been built by a bunch of, coach builders, and you're taking it to another guy that you trust. That's how much trust these guys have in him, which is outstanding. I mean, you should have that kind of trust with somebody, where you can take cars and you're like, look, man, I know it's going to be here for a while, but please help me out. But I think, John does bring that, that service to them. And, they've been going to him for so long. Like Jerry, like I said, again, Jerry, Spike, and all those guys take their car to him, and he does amazing stuff. I mean, if you don't know who he is, you should know who he is. And he's pretty well known in the Porsche community. And you should definitely check him out, at least at a minimum, give him a follow on Instagram, look at his pictures, go to his website. Like, this guy's in it. Like, just like any of the other guys we've talked about on our Builder series, like, he is deep into the Porsche.
He's only been doing the restorations for almost 42 years.
Exactly.
26th of January is 42 years.
Exactly. So, like, he knows what he's doing. There is no doubt whatsoever. The funny thing is it's this, funny, not like haha, but like, with that experience obviously comes, a high price tag, right? Like, anything you can get done and you want it from the best, he carries that clout with him. So if it's done by him, like, everybody knows that, hey, he has a stamp on that. This is what this is. And that's how, the promenade behind that. That's why Jerry and, Spike and Paul, they all take their stuff to this guy. It's like, this is the only guy I want working on my stuff, so it's pretty special. And like, and the cool thing, or I don't know if you want to say it cool or whatever, but I guess all customers are treated equal there, because even Zuckerman's car, it's taking a while to get done, and it was involved in an accident.
Well, I mean, that's with any restoration that it takes a decent amount of time for that to happen. It's not done in the next week.
Exactly.
But I mean, it would be cool to see one of his Willhoit 4-cylinders and one of these John Benton 912s. That's what I think would be.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see.
It would be pretty interesting, and like, and the cool thing I think a lot of people don't know about John is that he knows how to work on the 4-cam engine, which is a very difficult animal to work on. There's a lot of people who don't want to work on a 4-cam, and if you're out there in the Porsche world, you don't know what a 4-cam is. It's a very unique engine that goes in these cars, and they're very special. And I think you guys should look it up if you don't know, do a little bit of research on it. But John knows how to work on these cars, and because he's been in the game so long, and it's very time consuming to get that motor dialed in properly, and he's one of those guys that knows how to do it. And with that, because you're in a small population, you get to call your shot. You get to say, hey, well, this is what it's going to be for me to work on your car, and if you don't like it, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? So it gets pretty pricey.
But that's what you pay. You get what you pay for again and again. So, I mean, that's the way these guys work. If you want perfection, you get it, but it costs.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's different kind of levels for everyone in the Porsche world, right? I think there's the, like the untouched cars that are the I don't know if you want to call them barn finds, but the original paint cars and the, all this great stuff. And then you have these elaborate, outlaw cars. And then you have these restored back to factory spec, even better cars, and like a little bit quicker and all original stuff, kind of like what Willhoit does. And it goes back to like what we talked about earlier. There's a little bit of flavor for everybody, right, Aaron?
Exactly. I mean, I'd probably be a little bit on the outlaw side, but then I like all my stuff running perfectly as well. So
yeah,
I guess it'd be a mixture of the things. But yeah, I agree. I mean, that flavor is also in price and then what you like.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, right? If we had an unlimited bank account, we'd like to have a little bit of everything.
I
right?
think I would own one from each builder, just so I can compare them.
Yeah, exactly. To have a little bit of outlaw, to have a little bit of original, have a little bit of this, like to be blessed in that situation would be obviously ideal. right? To have
To
all,
have all the toys is the
Yeah.
best scenario.
yeah. Who wouldn't want all that, right? Who doesn't? Who doesn't want all the toys? No. I'm gonna be moderate about this. I only want 2 cars. I don't care if I have $1 gazillion. I only want 2 cars, right? Or only even one. You can only drive one at a time, is what the saying is, right?
That's okay. But I can own a lot at one time.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Hey, as many as I can afford, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that the rule of thumb? But yeah, awesome builder out there. Like, definitely super awesome guy to go to. If Zuckerman's going to him to get his speedster done, Jerry goes to him to get stuff done, Spike goes to him to get stuff done. That's enough for me to know what he's about.
That's all the credible names I would need.
Yeah. I mean, and those guys are waiting to get stuff done. That's how busy John is. I mean, and those guys are willing to wait.
I mean, that's with any good builder. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to run into that. Any good, it doesn't matter what you're building, but in the Porsche world, the names are going to cost you, and you're going to wait
Yeah.
because you're getting everything you expect to get, and it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely.
end.
I agree. And I think that these guys, they have all those names that I've mentioned. They've been in the Porsche game for a while, so they understand quality, and they're willing to wait for the best of the best. And the fact that they're going to him to get their stuff done means a lot, So if you, like, again, I'll plug him again. If you haven't looked him up, Jay Willhoit on Instagram or johnwillhoit.com, the restorations, I should say. And great builder. Get on the waiting list if you have one of those cars and you have the bank account to fund it. He's a pretty amazing guy. Let's transition a little bit and let's talk about what's currently happening in Porsche. Some new things that are going on right now. We've already discussed in previous episodes the 992 that's coming out. But there has been some spy shots of the 992 GT car. Aaron, have you seen any of those pictures of those cars?
I've seen video. That's on the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
So it's already being muled around.
What are your thoughts on that?
It looks cool like any other GT3 would look. I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds like the business. It sounds just like I would want a GT3. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to try it. I give it a try.
It looks pretty epic. The wing is pretty different, isn't it?
I don't know about this turn. It looks like a turned down wing. I mean,
It's kind of like a
to
Senna-esque wing, right?
It very much is like the Senna wing. I mean, they may be getting the downforce. They need that, and that's the way they're getting it.
Yeah.
I know some of the guys, I believe I can't remember which way it was going, but I think that the GT2 guys were putting GT3 wings on their GT2s to get proper downforce for the ring.
Oh,
I think
really?
That was one of the things that they were doing.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
I don't know really what the differences in strength was, but there's something there.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, it looks like a beast. I mean, from the spy shots that I could see, there's a lot of venting, a lot of holes on the car, a lot of big wings. So
got to cool it.
Yeah.
Got to keep it down on the ground.
Let's hope it doesn't look like the Senna, though. Like, good Lord, that car.
That's a little much, but you know, everybody loves it. So.
Yeah, maybe better in person. Who knows? I mean, I'm excited to see that GT car when it comes out. I mean, Porsche always has something amazing, coming out as far as...
It'll look better. Black is a great color.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in different colors, that's when it's going to accent itself and be like, and they'll do the blacks and other accented colors. It'll be great. We know it will.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on the GT2 RS Club Sport?
It's amazing.
With the Martini livery that they went with it on it.
I mean, it's a club sport. It's good. Just gives you that one extra level because you needed more from the GT2 RS.
Yeah, like the GT2 RS wasn't enough, right? You had to get the Club Sport.
Well, you got to be different than the neighbor.
Yeah.
So I'd love riding it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how. I don't know, and bell curve wise, in what degree that it's better than a GT2 RS.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean
how much? What is really the percentage that it's better?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be lighter. Obviously, it's the CS.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Maybe it's just more of kind of like a sensory overload type of situation where you get beat up a little bit more. There's a little bit
if
noise.
it's any more rough, then it's got to be. I mean, it's full out race car at that point.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I guess. I mean, the GT2 RS is, from what I've heard, I've never been in one, but yeah, it's pretty rough. But yeah, I guess as far as that going, I couldn't imagine how rough that must be around the track or what have you. But I guess maybe on a track, it's supposed to be.
Well, that's where it lives. That's home. It doesn't go. Oh, I'm gonna daily it to the office and back.
Which would be pretty awesome, though.
But if you do, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Take a picture, post it on our site. Tag us in it on at PCAR Talk. That would be pretty awesome, pretty epic. So, what are your thoughts on? And this is just kind of rumor mill type of stuff and talking in Porsche circles, as we do as with our other Porsche guys that we talk with. How about the 935 street version possibly coming out? What are your thoughts on something like that? Do you think that's coming?
That's going to happen. They as quickly as they sold out of the other 935s that they made, the GT2
I agree.
cars with the 935 styling. They're gonna have that. I don't know why you wouldn't make a street version.
I think
bring
so
back
too.
This Landos. Everybody loves it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough passion behind that styling that it would absolutely sell.
Yeah, Porsche's printing money at this point, right? Like whatever they want to do, like it's pretty much going to sell, especially if it's in limited quantity. That they're not going to be looking for clientele to buy cars. Like it, I mean, they're going to have to be beating people away with a stick, right?
Yep,
so
they have their list. They'll be like, "Oh, do you want one? Do you? Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
This isn't a problem. They're going to sell it. I kind of agree with that. I think they are coming out with that car. When we will see it, it's kind of tough to say because, the GT2 RS was last gen, right? And now the new gen's out. But historically, and they were coming out with slant nose Porsches when they changed model chassis before because they were still pumping them out because production took so long in the 80s. So
just another cycle.
Yeah. So here we are again, 30 years later. This is probably going to happen again. So I don't doubt that's going to happen. And some of kind of the insider talk on it and inside baseball is, some of the guys that much well and better know than us, they're discussing that is probably going to happen. And then what I'm talking about is guys like, Zuckerman and Ferriston. They think that car is going to happen. And the fact that they think it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen.
What I would imagine is they had that car in mind first.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to release what they did.
Yeah.
As just a little teaser, sell those, and then
know
that they had a market
make people
for the rest
lust after it, basically.
Exactly.
Let the build come. Let everybody say, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, and then release the allocations, and boom, they outsell in like 24 hours, basically.
What do you think they're going to cost? We know how much the other cars cost.
Yeah.
Those are the 700 or 800s.
Yeah. I mean, if it's for the street, I really don't see, I guess it really depends, to be honest with you, because if they're going to go limited production, if they're only going to make like 100 cars, then they can kind of call their shot on that, right? And anybody will pay whatever they ask. But if they're going to make maybe like GT3 numbers, maybe like 2400, I don't see that being an $800,000 car at that point. Maybe $400,000 or $500,000 car, which I know sounds pretentious, like saying like, oh, maybe $400,000 or $500,000.
It's not 7 or 8.
Not that, not that big of a deal. But I mean, it is a big a deal. But maybe like if they make 2,400, maybe 500,000 or 600,000. That's what I'm thinking.
With
because
markup, or do you think that's what they're?
I think that's MSRP. I can't call what the markup would be on that thing. It'd probably be astronomical. Like it'd probably be $100,000 markup.
And then paint a sample.
Yeah, and I mean, if you call your shot, and I don't really, and that brings me to another thing. Like, if you're called on this program, like the 918 program they used to have, we got called for a 911R or something like that. Is there markup on that car? For the guys that maybe have those that are in that program, write us and tell us, tell us on our Instagram page, because I don't know. Because you would think about it like, that's like
it's straight from Porsche.
Yeah, that's from Porsche.
No
so like, there's not a dealer, no offense to any dealer out there, but there's no scumbag dealer out there trying to gouge you for $100,000 additional on top of the markup because they have an allocation to sell you. This is Porsche factory offering this to you. saying, "Hey, I have a 911R for you. Do you want this? Yes or no. If you don't, you're done to us forever." So I wonder if it goes that way with the 935 slant nose version. I wonder if they touch these people to say, "Hey, we have 1,000 of these cars. You're one of the 1,000. It's 650 grand. Do you want it? Yes or no. Move on." So if that's the case, there might not be a markup. You see what I'm saying? So
Definitely be some good resale though.
oh,
I'm
absolutely. But you could get barred from the plan. I'm sure there's something of saying like a faux pas, of like you need to hang on to the car for a year, or that whole fiasco that
Ford GT.
that Ford GT had with Senna, and I mean not Senna, John Cena. Mm-hmm. But something like that, I'm sure that car is coming. Porsche is never going to let you down. They're always coming out with something. There's never going to be this lull where you're going to be like, "Oh, I wonder what's next." Well, we can all speculate, and that makes good conversation pieces. But I bet you we'll see one of those soon coming out.
Nobody saw that 935 style coming out. At
No,
Not
that was a great
Speedster,
secret.
yes.
Yeah, but the other one, that was a great curveball secret that they threw out there, and being at Rennsport with that reveal was pretty epic. We were up close and personal, to touch on Rennsport a little bit more. I mean, literally, we were 5 feet away from the car when they started it up, and it did its track run, and it was revving next to us. And I know people will say, "Well, it's just a GT2 RS underneath all that stuff." And yeah, you're right. But I mean, the full visual experience of that car and seeing it, the way it was designed and kind of like an homage to the Moby Dick car, I'll tell you what, like, who cares if that's what was under the skin and under the engine as far as a GT2 RS? I didn't think it was any, I didn't think GT2 RS when I looked at that car. That's not what I thought.
No, not at all. It doesn't. You don't even. Yeah, you don't recognize it for what it is. Besides being the Moby Dick homage.
Yeah, all that car did when I looked at it, I was like, I need to find a way to earn more money.
Exactly. I need one of those.
Yeah, I was like, what can I do to get like into that class of person that is capable of being on that list and being able to afford a car like that?
Well, now it's getting on the list for the street car.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's kind of what's going on with Porsche right now. Got a couple questions here to close us out. We're coming toward the end of the show, so let's knock these questions out, Aaron. One of these questions in from one of our viewers says, "What is your realistic Porsche car to own?" Meaning like something that you see probably that you can afford someday and you're realistic. I know we kind of covered in our last episode was what's your favorite overall Porsche, no money, no object. But this is more of kind of like you see yourself owning this car someday if you have to earn up to it.
I think in a 991 GT3, even if it's PDK, driving them, the PDK doesn't bother me. It's just fine.
Nice.
I think that's what I would go. I mean, I would.
Any particular color?
I might go. As much as I don't really like white cars, I think I might do a white car with the GT3. I think that's a pretty popular opinion with a lot of the GT3s.
Yeah. How about chalk? You like that color?
What do you like chalk? I don't know. Well, if I got a dot 2, maybe. Oh, yeah. If I could find one in chalk, I think I would try it out.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that. I like that. I mean, that's not my exact car, but I'm definitely picking in a 991, but I'm picking the Touring. I kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe if I'm fortunate enough, maybe in a PTS type of color. I don't know what particular PTS color, but one of them.
What like, so if it's not a particular color, what would it be? A red? Would it be a blue? Would it be
that's
a
tough
green?
because you talk to me tomorrow and I tell you a different color, but probably right now, like, I don't know, maybe because we live in South Florida, but I really like the Riviera or Miami blue car.
That's a good color choice.
Yeah, so if
you and
maybe
else.
GT3 Touring in Miami blue or Riviera blue, something like that. But I wouldn't kick it out of bed if I got a GT3 Touring in chalk as well. I kind of like that chalk. That's why I brought that up.
You should visit that Gulf blue.
Yeah,
it's a good color. It's almost a white, but it's still blue.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's funny because like as all the photos I've ever seen of a GT3 Touring, and almost in any color that it is, I like it. It doesn't matter what it is. I like it. I've seen oak green. I've seen, all types of stuff. And I'm just like, oh, what an epic car. And I like the flare of the wing too. Like I mean, obviously I'm hunting after a 997.1 GT3. It's got its own wing. But I kind of like the subtle look of that, like maybe as a third car someday. And
The
I think
sleeper look of the
yeah, I think
GT3.
maybe by the age that I'm be able to afford that car, and by the time it depreciates, we're talking probably like a decade from now, where I can afford that car maybe.
We'll see. I mean, it could be all just skyrocket.
Yeah, I mean, it might be unattainium. I mean, that car I might not be able to ever afford that car if it doesn't appreciate.
I mean, against the regular GT3s and GT3 RSs that are in all these paint to sample colors,
Yeah.
the GT3 Touring could be that.
Be the one.
Be the one that just goes.
There's a lot of
bananas.
circles that think that car is that though, because it isn't those. It's not as flamboyant. It's kind of subdued. It may be that car, and it may be unattainium. And if that's the case, I'll be sad. But I always lust after it. I think that's my one realistic. And that sounds kind of pompous, but I don't want to say realistic. I think if you hone in on a goal, I mean, I think you could probably attain it. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm shooting after a GT2 RS. I mean, that's a $500,000 car. You know what I mean? Like,
It could be.
Yeah, maybe someday. Who knows what happens, right? I win the lotto, the Florida Lotto or something. But next question is, what's your perfect garage look like? I think they're talking about cars in your garage. If you had to, maybe a 3-car garage, what does that car look like? Or maybe a 2-car, like you and your wife, if you can.
Sport Turismo, it's number one. That
Okay.
fits everybody, fits all the stuff.
Say that you're appointed head of the family and you get to pick all the cars that live in your house, and like you get to have those cars. What are you just sport? We got Sport Turismo.
Just 2-car garage is going to be Sport Turismo and GT2 RS, just because I think it's just the lively bunch.
I like
the
those.
Newest one.
I like those.
That gives that. I mean, that's the higher end of each spectrum. I think the usability of the Sport Turismo, because the Panamera just doesn't do enough for me. Just being Panamera
I agree.
sedan form. It's got the wagon, gives it that aesthetic.
I think it just should be the Sport Turismo is the standard.
That could be
Panamera, right?
Yeah, it should be the standard Panamera. I mean, that could be the one car that I got. I think that'd be enough.
Yeah,
it's pretty quick. I mean, you couldn't take it to the track. That'd be the obvious drawback. But I don't think I would go SUV just because I think that covers it so well.
Yeah. So you Sport Turismo and GT2.
GT2 RS. I mean,
okay.
That's the newer versions. Maybe I could have went old school, but
yeah, I like that. That's a solid 2. I like that. I like your solid 2. I think if I had to pick 2, I'm going to copycat you on one. I like the Sport Turismo a lot. I think that one would probably be in my garage. I think that would be the family haul around thing. The wife and I go to dinner or like tool around the city, go on vacation, go to the mountains. It can do it all, right? Like that's the utility knife. It can do everything. You can throw stuff in it, throw stuff on top of it. It could take it and no problem. I think as far as like the second car, perfect garage for me, like if we're sharing that car, I probably need something a little bit practical, right? Like something that's probably going to do double duty. Kind of strange, but I guess maybe I would probably go 993, even though I talked trash about them in a few episodes before. I would probably go 993 turbo, believe it or not.
That is an interesting. Why the 993 turbo? What do you think that solves?
I think it kind of gives me my weekend car. It's modern enough, like maybe my wife could drive it too and not feel like, it's too much car for her or that she's getting out of control, but it's nostalgic enough where I still feel like kind of an air-cooled guy. It can do a little bit of everything. It's a manual shift car. Like it still gives me enough, like if I could, it's tough to say. If I'm only doing a 2-car garage, I think that those would be my 2 because I'd want my flavor of air-cooled, but I'd want enough modern too, and like I'm trying to think of it and be courteous, which I don't normally do for my spouse in this situation. It's like, yeah, I would love to go get like a 964 RS or something like that, but is she going to drive that car? Come on. No, she ain't going to drive that car.
Maybe.
Man.
She probably wouldn't like it as much as you would hope she would.
That turbo is going to feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more cushy. It's going to be something where, if she was in a pinch and I was in the Sport Turismo somewhere and she had to go somewhere, she could get in that turbo and feel okay about it, and not be like, God, this thing's so loud. It stinks. It's tough to drive. The steering sucks, like all the typical complaining that you get to hear. And I guess maybe I'm submitting a little bit, because I'm thinking about her, which I don't normally do, but which is a good thing, I guess. So that would be my garage. Looks like we got one more question before we close out for the night. Wow, this one's kind of interesting. Kind of piggybacks onto what we kind of talked about earlier. It says, pick 3 cars, a daily, track, and a fun car, cruiser / cars and coffee car. So that was the third category. That's all the same one. So daily, track, fun, cruiser style, cars and coffee car. Pick your 3 cars.
Ooh,
Could be from, obviously, and we'll play this game with money, no object.
Money, no object.
So you can go 918. You can go nuts, dude.
Let's see, daily 918.
Nice, I like it.
Because we're going green. We got hybrid going.
There you go, saving the environment, right?
Saving the environment, 119 at a time. Track car, we're going that 935 CS.
Okay.
Because
why not, right?
I don't think there's a better choice for that right now. And then cars and coffee cars gonna have to be an air cooled car. I think I might do a 904.
Oh, I like that. I like that little sidewinder move. Yeah. I like that. 904, huh? Yeah. Money, no object. You guys went heavy, huh? For my daily, oh man, I have to think about this. What would I daily?
That was with the a wife no concern.
Oh, okay.
List.
Yeah, the wife didn't exist.
She would be fine.
Yeah.
Driving any of those.
Yeah.
No sport turismo there.
Yeah. What I would daily, huh? Kind of tough. I'll go kind of moderate on that, I guess. Maybe like Cayenne Turbo S, for a daily, because I say I have a boat, so like I need to kind of tow something, and I, obviously the wife, and her in-laws, my in-laws and her parents come down often. So again, being considerate, which isn't normal for me.
Yeah, I solved a lot of issues there. There's no riding along on any of that.
Yeah, exactly. Good for you. You might have to have a 4th car out of those 3, but I think I would probably go with that. And then track car, man. I'd probably go actually super nostalgic, man. I would probably go like either 993 or 964 RSR. I'd probably go like,
ooh, that's a good choice.
Something nasty, like really nasty like that. Like just like, ooh, what's that? Even with like some kind of race livery. Like I'd probably hunt out a car, actually an ex-RSR car, not something it's built to be an RSR car. Something that had like race promenade maybe. And then fun cruiser / cars and coffee car. Ooh, that's kind of a tough car for me because like I'd want a little bit of everything. You know what I probably pick out of everything on the list? I'd probably pick GT3 RS 4.0, buddy.
Ooh, like 4.0 is like...
Yeah, that would be my cars and coffee car. So, because I'm kind of like track-blooded anyhow, so I know I kind of pick 2 track cars, but if it's just a me car, like, and I'm going to cars and coffee in it or cruising with friends, I want that raw, nasty, like, sound and all that back burble and all that mean and raw and nasty, like, something special. I think that's probably what I would pick. Those would be my 3. So, Cayenne Turbo S daily, track car, some type of RSR, air-cooled, 964, 993, and then I would probably pick that, like I said, that 4.0 from my cars and coffee car. I think that'd be round out my 3.
That seems like a good 3 there.
Yeah.
Cayenne Turbo S. I mean, that's a good call, but I couldn't.
Hey, I'm submitting, man.
Well,
like,
I mean,
it's
maybe
the family car.
Maybe I should have went Turbo SE hybrid Sport Turismo.
Yeah.
I think the wagons just get it done, but that's just...
Yeah, we kind of covered that in the segment, so I can appreciate that we kind of like moved on from that. But like,
Turbo has to be pretty cool though.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of a cool car. Like, like we're talking money, no object, right? We'll probably lose our tails on that. I would lose my tail on that car,
yes,
but who cares? Like, we're talking money, no object. So that was a question from one of our guys. But that looks like about all the time we have today. You got anything else, Aaron?
No, I think we covered a lot in this episode. But
yeah, we did. Pretty thorough. Enjoyed it. So till the next time, that's it, guys.
All right, see you guys later. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PCAR Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at PCAR Talk or online at PCARTalk.com.